Ooh, what's that in Maine? That's stupid. I don't think this is gonna be long. I just wanted to pose some hypotheticals to you. So John Milton. If you're not familiar with John Milton, he wrote Paradise Lost. Many know that, but he, in case you didn't know, also wrote Paradise Regained, which I don't think many know. At least it doesn't get talked about nearly as much. Paradise Lost gets talked about a lot more. One of the first hypotheticals I would like to pose is, has anyone ever thought that Milton wanted his work to be in the iteration of the Bible that, you know, came around that time? Like, just under the guise of the many edits and rewrites and iterations of the Bible, because there are way more than you think there are. Even just for, like, you know, a paragraph's worth of word changes, not within the same section, but the amount of words that are in a paragraph changed throughout the entire Bible. You know, that would be one iteration change of the Bible. This has happened, you know, a lot. The Bible's been changed a lot to, you know, to accomplish certain things. And the way that Milton wrote is very reminiscent of the Bible. Like, the way that he worded things was very reminiscent of the Bible. Obviously, the stories are told from a different perspective and a different light. But the way that he chose, obviously, you know, he wanted it to sound like the way that they talk and stuff like that. But is that the only reason that he wrote it like that? And the reason I say that is because look at how many people think that the devil's name is Lucifer. Look at how many people think that Satan's name is Lucifer. And the only real indication we have of that, you know, the only real reason, not indication, but the only real reason that we have for that, two reasons. The initial misinterpretation, the mistranslation of, you know, Lucifer, purposefully seeing it as a personification, and then applying it to Nebuchadnezzar. You know, it's stated that it's accidental. It's not accidental, in my opinion, which is the next hypothetical. What if these things are on purpose? You know, they're explained when you look these things up, or when you hear the explanations that are given for why these things were done, these mistranslations, misinterpretations, and vast and heavy edits to the Bible. The answers that you're given are very, like, you know, they're very pedantic. I don't. They kind of shrug you off, like, I don't know, I just made a mistake. And then you're supposed to just accept that. You know what I mean? You're just supposed to accept that. I just fucking made a mistake, bro. Nebuchadnezzar, Lucifer, who the fuck knows, man? Just read the shit. You know, that's what it's kind of. It gives that vibe of just accept it, dude. And within that, I feel like there is an air of intention behind some of that, because do you know the true name of God? Do you know the true name of the adversary? The adversary. When you look at the books, the apocrypha and the books that were decided to be not canon, that aren't just mystical books that came out of nowhere. They come from places. They come from the Nag Hammadi. They come from the Enuma Elish. They come from the Babylonians, the Mesopotamians. Like, these stories come from places. It's not mystery where these stories that built the Bible come from. They know where it came from. And they slowly, in some sections and other sections, just chopped up these texts and rewrote them to make a new piece of work that does a completely different thing than the original texts do. And so with that in mind, do you know the true name of God? The God of the Bible. And from that, again, do you know the true name of the adversary? And from that, why is the adversary the adversary? And why is God the God? Like, I posted a community thing that wasn't directly connected. Actually, yeah, it was. I did it because I mentioned the Nag Hammadi. Oh, it was because I talked about the secret book of John. It really, really would benefit so many if they just jumped on to studying not only canon text for all those Abrahamic religions. If they were to open their mind and say, well, I've got this, that I've been studying my entire life. Maybe I should look into this other shit they don't want me to know about. Really feel like that would benefit many, because if you broaden your scope and don't just listen to preachers and pastors and these other false idols, these other sheep herders, wolves in sheep herders clothing, then you would discover that these stories, these instructions, as many like to call it, came from somewhere else completely, and that they're vastly misrepresented. I said wolves in sheep herders clothing. I do identify with a wolf, but it's not in any different clothing. It's just a wolf. And it's not the biblical wolf, because that's a misrepresentation, just to throw that out there before I get a goofy message on Instagram or something. But yeah, I think that just like many other stories, there wasn't much else other than books and poems and sonnets and shit like that back in Milton's time. So with that being known, maybe when those in power came across Milton's very, very brilliantly written stories, they said, well, we don't want to put that in the Bible, but let's push it. Let's push it a bit. Let's get this Lucifer thing going. Because, the way that people think that Paradise Lost is biblical, like fact, like biblical context, is fucking wild. Like, and I'm not talking about people that study these things or do videos or documentaries or any of that shit. They're usually a little more well-rounded than that. But on a grand scheme, people quote shit from Milton. People quote shit from Milton and think they're quoting the Bible, bruh. That's fucking crazy. You know what I mean? That's crazy. People quote shit from Milton and think they are quoting the actual Bible. So many people say Luciferian, and it's fucking annoying. That is because, and not just because, it's not me trying to venerate Lucifer, because that's not a thing. That's not a thing. And the thing that weirds me out about it is so many people do it, and it's not just people that view Lucifer as evil or bad. There are those that, like, it's just become an egregore. And I'm not trying to take your egregore away from you, but it also displays a level of, like, cognitive dissonance, of just accepting narratives. Like, it bothers me to a degree. Like the concept of Lucifer and the concept of Luciferianism, to me, those are just ideas that have to do with like the principles that come from true Luciferianism, which has nothing to do with evil or sacrificing people or any of that shit. It's about wisdom and knowledge and standing up for yourself and all these other principles. There is no deity. There is no deity in actual Luciferian. Is Satan worship and devil worship and that shit. And fake Luciferianism, I guess I could call it. That is vastly different from the concept of Luciferianism. And a good 85 to 90% of people that talk about Lucifer or Luciferian or Luciferianism or those Luciferian, they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. And these are beings that have the biggest platforms. And it is fucking weird. Like, most people don't actually study anything. They just go off the surface stuff, and then they make that their lives. They make that what they truly believe and, like, put out into the world. And that's so fucking wild and, like, nuts to me. That's so nuts to me. And it's not to say that there are many that study, but they study one thing, and they don't want to hear any other perspectives, and they damn sure don't want to hear that their text came from pre-existing texts that say completely different shit than what they're reading in their, version. It even calls it a version. King James Version, New International Version. Why the fuck do you need versions of a religious text? Has anyone thought of any of these things? It's fucking wild as fuck. I was listening to Wendigoon do very, very good breakdowns of Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained. And even then, I'm just listening to it and I'm like, man, the connection to this feels like, I don't know, itchy, like scratchy to me. And no disrespect to him whatsoever. This is not something that's local to him. It's not just him. I don't know. I know I've talked about this a couple times, but like, imagine looking around and seeing everyone just mystified by this giant parasite. Physically, like, you look up and you see like a giant fucking leech or something, and everyone loves and adores this leech, and it's almost like you and maybe a couple others see the leech and they see what it is in reality, but you look around and everyone's just enamored by this leech. They love it so much. They would do anything for it. They testify for it. They preach about it. And it's doing what a leech does. And you look around and you're like, you can't see what it's doing. It's so weird. It feels uncomfortable. And to be clear, I'm not calling the first a leech, because this may be your first time seeing me talk. My studies and research have led me to, there is a huge difference between the jealous God of the Bible. The jealous God of the Bible. Why would you need to be jealous? And the actual first. The actual, being that created us in love and breathed life into our soul. There is a difference between those two beings. Yaldabaoth creates, the world of the Bible and the context behind the Bible and all of these negative kind of aspects of creation, and then just tells you that there's good reason for them. The first just creates you and lets you It's like one actually does what the other one claims to do, but everyone looks at the one that claims to do it and is like, that's my God. And it's very strange to me. Like, you don't need to know names in order to find your allegiance, in order to find your love. Go off of works. And it's almost the same as what you see today, where, like, you know, beings are very, very easily, not, I guess I will say brainwashed. In a way, I would call it brainwashed, because you see these things happen, and then very soon after that, they just kind of don't talk about it anymore, or don't care about it anymore. And that's the exact same thing that happened with the fucking Old Testament. Go look at the Old Testament. Dude, look at the Old Testament, and then come back and tell me that is a loving God. This shit's wild as fuck. And again, I'm not talking about the actual God. I'm talking about the fake one that gave us these fucking Bibles. They're not the same. They're not the same being, you know? I reiterate that a lot, because I'm not an atheist. And I talk in ways that people assume that I am for some reason, though I say many times I venerate the first. I can see the difference between these two entities, these two, you know, beings. One of them is a piece of shit. The other one is the creator of all, and actually gave us gifts and then didn't try to take them back or give us all these fucking weird stipulations and guilt and, like, shame and all of these things that were created by this fake one, you know? It's goofy. But Milton very much seems to have wanted his works to potentially be like, hey, you want to put my shit in a Bible? And to be honest and to be clear, like, if they were put in the Bible, those would be some of my favorite, like, kind of stories. But I'm bringing that up because, to me, that shows just how easily the text that everyone reads and lives their whole fucking life by could have been built by a dude named John Milton. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, there have been many other John Miltons. Many. You know, Francis Bacon is a John Milton. Shakespeare, Francis Bacon, Shakespeare, that is a John Milton. Constantine, Charlemagne is a John Milton. Like, everyone puts so much stock into these books. Even Wendigoon, again, no disrespect to Wendigoon. I like his channel. I like the stuff that he puts out. I'm just using it as an example. Literally, I mean no disrespect at all to Wendigoon. I like his stuff. But even he made this distinction. Like, now, I wouldn't say that, John Milton's work, I wouldn't preach from it or anything, which indicates, but you would preach from the Bible, though. But there isn't a difference between those two things. They are both works of fiction, technically. Because so much has been, manipulated within those texts. And that's not me, that's not conjecture. It's not me just saying that. Religious scholars admit that. So I'm not being a dick in saying that. That is fact. That is historical fact. They have changed and deleted and moved around shit in the Bible many, many, many times. And then you go to other Abrahamic texts and it just gets worse, dude. It gets so much worse. The things that they say in these texts that everyone call, so beautiful and so full of love and so perfect, they are horrifying, these texts. And so it just makes me wonder, like, has anyone considered not only that these were men that, and I hear religious scholars say this shit all the time. There's much talk of, there being a more recent writer to some of these, scriptures, and they say that a lot. They say that so much. And for me, that comes together to build essentially, like, how much of this book is real. I would almost love to see someone who has an even kill, like an open eye, take the, King James or the New International Version or something, and actually like deconstruct the entire Bible, and anything that is not canon from the Enuma Elish and the Nag Hammadi and the other texts, from like Zoroastrianism and all of it, and take out anything that the Vatican added, or that Charlemagne added, or that Francis Bacon was commissioned to add. All that shit, just take it the fuck out. And I want to see how much of the actual text is left, because I don't think it's a lot, bruh. You know what I mean? I don't think it's a lot. I think there's very little that you'll end up with left. And that shit is creepy to me, because you can say there's a separation of church and state, and I'm speaking for the U.S. at this point, but there isn't. There is not. It's deeply ingrained into every single being that walks this place, whether they know it or not. Even things that, like, there are people that say that they're atheists, and they are in practice, but some of the things that they do come from religion. They just aren't aware of it. And I'm not trying to preach against faith or religion or any of that stuff, but with anything in life that you choose to do, you should choose to do those things and then be well versed in them, be knowledgeable with them. And I look around and I just see beings that have not read, like, period, not even studied or researched. They haven't even read this shit, and they live by their like idea of it, or like what some dude in a pulpit is telling them about it, which is nuts. Why the fuck would you let someone else tell you what's in your text? Because you're giving that dude money. He'll say whatever the fuck he needs or wants to say. And in a sense, they're borderline gurus. A lot of pastors just, all right. Yeah, man, I just wonder if anybody thinks about those things. And I'm not talking shit on, definitely not talking shit on Wendigoon, but I'm also not talking shit on Milton. Milton's work is really cool, but it does seem like he was trying to write new books or new versions of books for the Bible. A. B. He perpetuated the concept of Lucifer. Because when people talk about Lucifer, what things can you point back to? John Milton, mistranslation. That's where Lucifer comes from. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. You actually don't know that being's name. Even the names of the 72 Goetia demons and all that stuff, those came from who? Who did those names come from? Right? Was it God? Nope. Was it Jesus? Nope. Who was that? Who'd those names come from? It was fucking King James. You know what I mean? Solomon. Solomon was like, I will name all these demons. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's fucking nuts, bro. And then we just apparently are supposed to go with that. So, I just, it listening to that video made me think all this stuff. It's like, damn, we don't even know God's actual name. You could say El. You for sure could say El. But I'm pretty sure that's just Yaldabaoth, bruh. That's what my studies have led me to. And Yaldabaoth could very well just be someone from the Anuna. Honestly, I don't think that we have an understanding of the true first deity, the true first divine being that we all were given, immortal and eternal life by. All we know is knockoff pieces of shit that like claim to be things, or they're egregores that were created by pieces of shit who didn't ask to be created. Like, people talk a lot of shit about like Jesus and stuff like that, and I think that's kind of fucked up, because there are, you could look at all of that stuff and say that dude didn't ask for any of that stuff. In fact, if you look at the apocrypha and other books, he keeps saying like, stop worshiping me, dude. I'm not, you guys are dumb. I keep telling you to stop worshiping me. Be like me. Don't worship me. That's what I'm trying to tell you. He says that a bunch, and they just kind of keep ignoring him. They just kind of keep ignoring him. Like, no, dude, you are the shit. Which whatever, dude. I get that to an extent. But then other beings come along after that and perpetuate the shit. And so now you end up with this involuntary egregore. Like, Jesus didn't... The Jesus that was actually talking and teaching was teaching alchemy. He was teaching magic, showing magic. He was taught by, he was taught and initiated by someone else. Like there's contextual evidence for these things, and you can call it blasphemy or whatever the fuck you want to call it, but it's backed up by text. I'm not making these things. These are not my theories. This is from text. Other religious, actual, fuck other and actual religious scholars say the same thing that I'm saying. But it is also my theory, because I've gone and checked those texts. And dude was initiated in a fucking pyramid, bruh. Dude was initiated and taught in a pyramid. Like, just so many. You can say these things to beings, and they're just like, I can't believe you just fucking said that. It's like, oh really? You can't believe I said that? Why is that? Can you have a rebuttal? Do you have a rebuttal? Do you have a reason why you think that what I just said is blasphemy? Or are you just saying that because it's not what you were taught in whatever Episcopal or, Tarian, various versions of Tarian churches, whatever church you were in? Is it because it's different from what they taught you? Yeah, Scrap. It's weird, dude. Scrap's like, yeah, he's been saying the same thing. It's weird that they do, like, could you think about the connotation behind that? Say you're, not Jesus. Say you're a divine being and you're teaching, or even doing this, Say you're doing this, you're speaking publicly, right? And then people start fucking worshiping you, literally worshiping you. And you keep saying, I don't like that. You're making me feel fucking weird. I don't even know if I want to keep talking because you're worshiping me. Imagine the feeling that would give you, whether you're self-deified or fully deified and have your memory, no matter what the iteration is, you're telling these other beings, I don't want you to worship me. Stop it. Stop worshiping me. And they just keep doing it anyway. Isn't that creepy? Isn't that creepy? That's creepy as fuck. Exactly, Scrap. He said, follow me, not worship me. Be as I am. And that's just one. There's so many other gurus that said very similar shit. Buddha didn't say, like, worship me, And again, I have a video talking about how I have a couple of different theories as to these deities that were all over the globe, being potentially the same beings over and over again. It's in a playlist. It's in the documentation playlist. If you haven't watched that video, I'm really proud of that one. So if you haven't seen that video, you should watch it, because I did a lot of research for that specific video and explaining ultra-terrestrials, and how they pertain to deities that have been worshipped all throughout time. And, there's a bunch of other stuff in that. You should watch that video. But it's it's weird looking at Milton's work and thinking this could have been in the fucking Bible, and then taking the next step and being like, oh shit, there's just a bunch of Miltons potentially. That's why I keep talking about the Book of Eli. That's such a good movie if you're a thinker. If you watch things and let that get your fucking wheels turning. The Book of Eli is nuts. That shit could have been a prequel to now. You know? I've said that a few times. Every time I bring it up, I'm going to say why I say that. Because, like, yeah, and there has been a bunch of Jesuses. That is right. Buddha was a Jesus. There's been a bunch of Christs. Christ is not a name, it's a title. Same thing as Satan. A Christ is Christ energy. You know, there's lots of people talking about it right now. They're just bastardizing it with their own bullshit to get your money. Just to put that out there. There's a bunch of people like, oh, get your Christ energy. You know, bring your, you know, a lot of people are reading the Hearth book and then taking sections of it and then selling it to you through, like, teaching you. And I hate it. I fucking hate it. Damn, that made me lose my train of thought for a second, because I really do. I don't like that shit. So I don't know. There are many Miltons throughout history, and that dude just didn't make the cut, quote unquote, you know. So his books got published as fiction, whereas, you know, Charlemagne had the power to impose his own books. And you know, King James, same thing there. Solomon, you know, same thing there. Like, these are beings that had the capability and the connections to be like, hey, I'm gonna give you some stories, and I want them in the text for different reasons. Maybe they wanted to go down in history, their name. Charlemagne absolutely wanted that. That's why he, you know, not only did the Bible stuff, but he fucked with time. He fucked with the calendrical, you know, makeup of time. Dude messed with history so that he could be empowered during the year 1000. You know, I don't know, dude. I just wondered if anybody had thought about that, specifically with Milton, but with all of it. It's very interesting to me. Very interesting to me. And then, you know, if you haven't given Paradise Regained a look, I would do that, because it is an interesting story. These are interesting versions of the stories. But you know, it's definitely. I also think that there is not an agenda necessarily to that, but there is something interesting to me that we don't know the definite name of the God of the Bible. We don't know the definite name of that God's adversary. You know, we have misinterpretations and fake names and changing the names over and over and over again. First it's El, then it's Yahweh, then it's Jehovah. You know what I mean? Like, and then you can go back further than that. Again, watch that documentation video, because the theory that I have and that I present in that video, I feel very confident in that. And I've even seen some corroboration from other researchers. So, first documentation video. The thumbnail's like a wolf with red eyes, and it says still. STILL, still, above the head. Good video. Yeah, man, but I don't know if I have more than that. I just, I was listening to that Wendigo video, and you know, it was actually a really good video. It was sweet. It moved him to tears, and I definitely resonate with that with certain works. You know, that Suspiria video that I did, or those two Suspiria videos I did. You know, I talked about that movie differently than anything I think I've talked about on this channel almost, because that movie really does move me in a very similar way. I'm just not easy to tears. Not to say that he is, but it's hard for me to reach the level of tears. I have to have a bunch of stuff well up in me. But yeah, bruh. I don't know if I have anything else. I just wanted to toss that out there, see if somebody could pick it up. Everyone's stuck on Jesus. Whatever Jesus was preaching existed before him. Yeah, I mean, he was an initiate. I feel like if he was representing himself now, he would be honest about that and say, yeah, man, I learned this shit from, like, I don't know, Thoth or some shit. I don't think that's the correct being, but someone initiated him. And, you know, John the Baptist baptized him. Like, it's... When you really think for a second and don't just listen to these stories to be taught them, you take the extra step and just think about it for a second. It's like, oh shit, well yeah, okay. Why the fuck would he need to be baptized if he wasn't a man? He was a man. He was an initiated man, and he had, you know, it's seemingly he had his memory. He had his Christ consciousness and memory. I would say that. But I think that's why he kept saying, be as I am. You know, like, follow in my footsteps. Don't worship me. Is what I see. But yeah, bro, I'm not gonna hold y'all. I just wanted to put that up there. You know what I'm talking about? Because, again, I see a lot of people arguing about shit that does not fucking matter, and you know, you can't prove any of the stuff that I see many arguing about right now. And it gets to the point of, like, just being nasty to each other. Like, I've seen discussions turn into straight up, like, not even a debate anymore. Just straight up, like, nastiness. And it's pointless anyway. It really is pointless. You will not prove any of the shit that you're arguing about unless something comes and allows you to prove it. Unless God comes here, Yaldabaoth comes here and says, here I am. I'm doing a Q&A. Until Yahweh comes here. Yaldabaoth, Yahweh comes here and says, Q&A time, bros. You know, he's got his little turtleneck, like, he's got his little turtleneck, like fucking Steve Jobs. He's got his little mic, his ear mic. Alright, my bad. Fuck. I'm just saying, you know? Yeah. I think I should get the fuck off here before I say some more fucking before I say some more offensive shit. I'm not trying to be offensive though. It's just if you actually research and study these things, then you can't really be offended, because I'm saying stuff that you can find. Yeah. Let me get the fuck off here. Alright, bro. Later.